So for those of you, if this is your first time at a Northside Innovation Meetup, welcome. The goal of these meetups is to annualize the conversations we start every June during our big Northside Festival. For those of you who don't know about the festival, 100,000 people come to Brooklyn every June to discover what's new in technology, music, art, and film. Tonight's theme is a really exciting one. We think often of innovation very locally, what's happening in front of us on our phone to our community. Tonight's conversation is about what happens when innovation goes way beyond what's right in front of us. It's about scaling and about scaling internationally. It's about new markets. It's about when innovation impacts the entire world. The format is, as always, 3 lightning talks up here, founders who are going to share with us that incredible moment when they just saw something in a different way. They understood something in a way no one else understood it and jumped into the void.
And we touched down at JFK. First thing that we got was a text from our providers. Welcome, Mr. Van Well. You can now pay $9 per megabyte. The infrastructure, the way that we get online is still controlled by the old world. So I remember us sitting down and asking this simple question: how hard can it be to build a mobile provider? And within 10 months after coming up with that aha moment from, geez, $9 a megabyte, no idea what we're doing, to launching a company in 80 cities in the US with the support of a network and our hardware manufacturer in South Korea. We just announced a new product. We're going nationwide, 450 cities, a team of 25 people right now, 20 in New York, 5 in Amsterdam, and it's amazing.
So I'm a scientist. I like to talk about myself as a recovering academic. I was doing a postdoc until 10 months ago, so I was talking mostly to scientific crowds and audiences until pretty much a year ago. Then at some point I had an idea. I was sort of frustrated with the way that scientists work on research papers, and they use a very old school way of disseminating research papers. They still use PDF. They send a PDF to the journal, and then the PDF is sent to the reviewers, very badly annotated, and then what you get as readers is a PDF which cannot be commented upon and all of that. And it doesn't really expose the data that scientists use. So at some point I was like, there's got to be a better way of doing this. There's a lot of inefficiencies in science. We got to make it a lot faster for researchers to get the research out. And I applied for a couple of research grants, which got rejected. So I was like, hey, maybe I can try this from the outside. Can I actually make academia better if I go outside of academia and then bring some money from, private companies, or maybe we bootstrap and start making money and we make academia better? And that's when I had my first aha moment, I guess. It was the idea that as a scientist, as an academic, I could actually get out of my shell and talk to investors, and actually raise some private money from people that don't normally talk to scientists all the time.
But Lulu actually started in London. I was living here in New York, and my business partner Alexander was living in London. And we raised our first round of financing for some English investors, English angel funds. And that's where we built our first team. The problem with being in London is, though, when the busiest time on our app, we were asleep. That's because college girls are very busy at nights and weekends. So we also knew, though, that really the ultimate market for Lulu was the US. And so in January, we moved our business from London to New York. And it was the right decision. What is harder to manage is the emotional cost. In London, we were a small team. We were like a little family, like so many startups. And we had to disband our team. We buckled down, and we spent the first half of this year completely rebuilding our team. And we have a wonderful team now, and we worked very, very hard for them.
We tried to look at what are the biggest challenges. You're coming from abroad, you want to grow into the US, you want to ramp sales, you want to raise capital. The first couple things we realized are immigration, as you've heard from a couple of people here, is a total mess in the United States. Congress really needs to lock it up. And we've worked with organizations like Forward.us and a couple others to help push that forward. But then after that, it's raising capital, it's learning a lot of the mistakes that companies make and trying to fast forward through that as quickly as you can. So we built a program that is all about sort of learn, connect, and grow. Everyone, please, Paul Golash, the founder of Voxy, please put your hands together for him, please.
Thank you. My founding moment is, it was a long time ago already. I've been doing this for like thousands of days, 5 years. And I used to be a venture investor. I worked for Richard Branson's Virgin Group and helped build companies for Virgin, specifically Virgin Hotels. And nights and weekends, I had an email newsletter business, which was similar to like a Daily Candy or a Thrillist. And one Sunday night, my best friend, who we were doing this as like a side project, we were at this yakitori bar in the East Village trying to figure out how to get people to open our emails. And I figured that English learners would have to read something. And that was literally the beginning of that was the inspiration. I then started downloaded Rosetta Stone's 10K and figured out there were 2 billion people learning it, $100 billion market, and that every single other product out there was pretty subpar. Nobody was deploying technology really effectively against this massive problem that could potentially impact people's lives and the world. What we learned though is that you have to be on the ground. The cultural differences in trying to get somebody to buy your product. You have to have Brazilian people. The time zone's even the same there, so it should be even easier. But it's you have to actually be there. There's so many sensitivities around who the buyer is and what they're thinking, and yeah.
So based upon all this genius research from your out-of-work McKinsey consultant, what are the next markets that you're going into? What's your plan for world domination over the next couple of years?
Our next market is pretty much almost certainly going to be Mexico, and that's because it's similar to Brazil, and it's hard enough opening a new market. We sort of want to leverage as much of the learning that we've done in Brazil. It's also the same time zone. I speak Spanish. A lot of people underestimate, getting back to the theme of internationalization, I mentioned culture, which I can't stress enough. It's impossible for me, I'm a pretty decent sales guy, but it's impossible for me to go to Brazil and get a good read on whether someone's 2 days away from buying or 5 months. And my sales guy is going to know it in 2 seconds. The cultural sensitivities around, especially an enterprise sale, are so massive. So it's simple shit, but it actually matters in the long run because you got to be able to build these teams in different parts of the world, and you got to somehow keep your sanity.